Today, on Be Something Wonderful, is birds before land really a sign that it's coming? I am your host, Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. Big video this morning. I have a lot of things that I want to talk about. I want to talk about the questions that came up about birds before land. Right? Remember, this is an idea that was put forth by Florence Scovel Shinn and others. This idea that when there are certain events that happen, some have called it events along the bridge of incidents, right? Neville Goddard's term, that are a sign that your manifestation's near. The sign that it's unfolding in 3D reality. So I want to hit this idea. Now, I included a playlist that has every video, or at least 4 or 5 videos, that I've done on birds before land, that we unpack this idea in every way possible. So we're going to talk about this today. Remember, it's a nautical term, right? That means if you're seeing birds, if you're in a ship in the ocean and you're seeing birds, land must be near. And land is the idea of fulfillment in this analogy. That fulfillment in 3D reality, the outer fulfillment, the manifestation in 3D. So we're going to talk about that idea. Related to this was some questions that came up. I got an email from, I think, a subscriber, and also there was a comment in the channel, the idea that this one subscriber wrote to me and said, Tom, he's concerned that we shouldn't claim ourselves, one shouldn't claim himself that I am God. Right? Of course, Scripture says that. All throughout Scripture it says, I am God and there is no other. But he says, and remember, you create your own reality. So that this is your assumption, this is your belief. In this particular case, this is the subscriber's belief and assumption. So that will be the reality that he creates. Right? And he believes that that God, because God is greater, that you shouldn't declare that you're God, that you're an aspect of God, a part of God, but you're not God, right? You're one with God as an aspect, like he says, as every part, like a part of a whole of something, but you're not the whole, right? Now, keep in mind, guys, we've talked about this in many videos. Remember, wherever God is at all, the whole of God must be. Wherever that power is at all the power must be. You can't split up infinity. You can't divide up God. So that's the whole idea of unity and oneness. If you could divide up oneness or unity, it wouldn't be unity. It wouldn't be perfect unity. It wouldn't be perfect oneness, right? God wouldn't be perfect, and God is perfect. That unity is perfect. So I want to talk about this idea because he even used the word humble, that we should be humble, right? We should, in other words, and I know he's not saying this directly, but it implies that we're separate. It implies a belief in separation, it implies a belief in weakness, in smallness, in limitation. That's what that implies, right? Remember, I'm going to hit this a little bit more, and then we're going to get into this idea of birds before land because it relates to it. The idea of signs. Like, remember, when you're looking for signs, you're looking outside yourself. You're implying that you're separate from those signs. You're implying you're separate from your wish fulfilled. You're implying that you're separate from reality. So I want to get into this. The first thing I want to hit is this idea. I'm going to hit some of the things that he said in the email. This idea of humble. Humble, the definition, right, in Oxford, having or showing a modest or low estimate of one's own importance. So being humble is saying you're not important, right? And then, or lower, or you're lower. Someone is lower in dignity or importance. How could that be how could that be God, an aspect of God? God looking at you as lower or not important. The whole idea of unity in God's nature. God, remember, God's impersonal and absolutely one, not separate from anything. God only sees unity, only sees oneness, does not see anything separate from it. So it looks at everything with equal importance. Everything's equally important and equally unimportant because it's all one. That's the true, if you want to be humble, That's the true meaning of being humble. Being humble is saying that I'm part of that unity. I'm part of that one. And everybody is God. And that we're all in equal importance in the eyes of God, not eyes of that greater. So I'm not debating that God is greater. But why is God greater? But also I'm saying that I and the Father are one, that we are one with God. I'm saying it's the paradox. It's both. What makes God greater is God doesn't see separation. That unity doesn't see separation. That unity doesn't see limitation. That unity doesn't see itself as a separate personality. Impersonal doesn't mean cold and uncaring. It means not separate from anything or anyone. That's what makes it powerful. So it's only more powerful than us in the sense that if you're thinking that you're separate and small and limited, then it is greater. But that's not the idea. God wants you to understand that you're one with the Father. That was Jesus' message all throughout the New Testament. There's no separation. Do you see it? God, all that is, source is unity and love. Everything and everyone is equally important. And most important, there's no separation. It's impersonal, not a personality, not separate from anything. It's the all. It's all power. Wherever God is at all of God must be. Remember, infinity, all that is, that unity is a hologram. So any aspect that you're calling an aspect of God contains the whole. That's a hologram. Remember you cut those holograms up when you're kids? In every part, doesn't matter how small you cut it or how small you believe you can cut it into pieces. All of it, it contains the whole image. That's what we're talking about. No matter how small you can believe you are, you can create that illusion. You can create an experience of being small and limited. No matter how small you believe it, the all of God and all power is within you. Wow, that's the real meaning. Do you see it? Wherever God is at all, the all of God is. God is not, and then one of you said, I think made a comment, God is not ego, with a big exclamation point. Again, pointing to this idea that if you claim you're God, that you're claiming that the ego is God. Remember, we're saying the ego is irrelevant. So we're not even debating that. We're saying that if you need to say that, then you're believing that the ego is a thing and that the ego has power. The ego is not even a thing. It doesn't exist. The ego is a thought system. The ego is a personality that believes in separation and limitation. It's irrelevant. God doesn't even recognize the ego. That's why the ego feels rejected and unworthy and not deserving, because it knows it's being rejected, but it doesn't know why, and it doesn't know from whom, because God doesn't recognize it, and it doesn't know God. Do you see it? So I really want to hit this today and more in this idea of birds before land, because I've talked about this in many videos, and go to those videos below or that are in that link, because there's some powerful unpackings in terms of even Neville Goddard using the Noah's Ark example when he talks about birds before land. But remember, what you call signs, what you call birds before land or synchronicities or coincidences is simply the unseen reality becoming seen. It's fulfillment becoming seen. It's already there. So that remember, you give meaning to the conditions of 3D reality. There's no meaning outside of you. In other words, there's no signs outside of you. You're the source of all of it. You're the birds, you're the land, you're all of it, right? Remember, this is what this client said. My birds before land disappeared, and I was wondering why I failed, right? She was manifesting her SP, right? This is her words, manifesting her SP, and she decided to test the law, like we've always encouraged, like Neville Goddard encourages. So she wanted to manifest being asked out by a coworker. And she did, and he did ask her out, sent her a message. Then she texts him back, said, well, are you sure? Remember, she's not trying to manifest the coworker, she's trying to manifest somebody else, another specific person, right? Trying, right? This is her words, right? Trying to manifest. And this coworker did ask her out, right? And then she was quite going, are you sure? Why did you change your mind? And then there's a little delay, and he goes, well, I'm not sure. And it's not a good idea. And then she thought she failed. She thought it was birds, a sign that she was going to be with the one she really wanted to be, and then that it disappeared. Remember, she just moved within. She changed. She was questioning it. She started doubting it. Maybe I don't really want to go with him. And that came out in the form of questions. And then, of course, he's going to reflect that. So the birds didn't disappear. And remember, the birds before land, if you want to call it a sign, it's a sign that you're already that person you want to be. That's the only sign that matters. That you're in that conviction that you're already that. You already have what you want. You already are what you desire. God doesn't look for signs. Remember, birds before land implies fulfillment in the future. Do you see it? If you believe that birds before land and that land's coming, manifestation's coming, you're now putting your manifestation in the future where it can't come. It doesn't exist. Fulfillment doesn't exist in the future. Your wish fulfilled doesn't exist in the future. It only exists in the here and now. It's right here. It's right now. God is always right now. So that just puts it in the future. And then you end up creating a reality where you're looking for signs and putting it in the future. I've covered this in many videos. And then when she says, I was wondering why I failed, that implies fulfillment's in the past. That now fulfillment's not possible. Do you see it? Why? You can't fail. Fulfillment's never in the past. It's always in the present. So you're always in fulfillment. You cannot get this wrong. You cannot fail. God doesn't look for signs. God doesn't give you signs. God, or your I am awareness, is the one and only sign that you're already the person you want to be and you are already complete, whole, and fulfilled. When you look for signs, you're now working at the lowest level of reality creation. Remember the levels of reality creation, 1 through 7. 1 is action. 1's 3D manifested reality. Now you're down there looking for signs. When you should be up there on level 5, 6, and 7 and knowing that I am God and there is no other. I am the sign. I'm the bird. I'm the land. I'm it all. Do you see it? Remember, signs that your manifestation come and keeps that in the future. Right? It keeps it in the unmanifested future where it can't come, where it can't exist. It doesn't exist in the future. You're God right now. Totally whole, totally complete, totally fulfilled. Birds before land is just the fulfillment that has always been there and is becoming seen. It's the fulfillment that's always been there. Your desire equals fulfillment. Cause equals effect. It's already there. That's what that means. So let's hit this a little bit more. It's a sign it's coming. And the sign disappeared. It's evidence I failed. Neither one of these are what we're talking about here. If it's a sign that it's coming, then it means it hasn't come. And it's in the future. And fulfillment is, if it's in the future, it can't come. Because fulfillment's right now. So, and if it's in the past, then it can't come. Because now the possibility's over. It's not possible anymore. But we know all possibilities exist. We know with God all things are possible. So the sign disappeared and it's evidence I failed is impossible. Do you see it? Fulfillment exists here and now or not at all. And non-fulfillment is impossible because I am not is impossible. God exists here and now or not at all. And God is. And God always exists. God, I am, fulfillment is the only reality. Right? Signs, coincidences, and synchronicities. In other words, the perceived physical effects of an unseen cause, because that's all that signs, coincidences, and synchronicities are. They're perceived physical effects of an unseen cause. Do you see it? And that unseen cause is you, within you. Your oneness with that greater reality. Right? That's you. It's the ultimate reality or source or fulfillment. Remember, so what are signs, synchronicities, and coincidences? It's ultimate reality or source or you or fulfillment revealing itself within your linear physical context. That's all signs are. They're just the unseen revealing itself in the linear physical context. It doesn't mean it wasn't there. It doesn't mean it's coming. It means it's already there and it's revealing itself to you. What was previously invisible to you is now becoming visible. Right? Desire equals fulfillment. Cause equals effect. There's only the unity and whole of that changeless reality. Do you get this, guys? It's big today. So birds before land. The land of fulfillment is always here and now. That's what that means. The land of fulfillment is always here. Signs are you experiencing change in that changeless reality. That's all that signs are. That's all that manifestation is. That's all the experience of reality creation is. It's just signs of this change that you're experiencing, that changeless reality. The signs, you give meaning to that change. There's no meaning outside of you, outside of God, outside of your oneness. Reality doesn't move or change. Hear this. Reality is changeless. I am. God is changeless. But you do. So reality doesn't move or change, but you do. In other words, what changes? Your experience of reality in linear time. That's what change is. It's when we're experiencing a frame of reality. And as our awareness moves within to another frame, that frame that we were previously focused on moves to what we call the past, but there is no past. It doesn't move. Your awareness does. It stays there and your awareness moves to another frame. But we link that together. We thread it together and call that past, that frame that we're no longer focused on, the past. And the frame that we haven't focused on yet, the future. But they're all here and they're all now. And you can connect them in any way you want and thread them any way you want and create lifelines or realities or film rolls or scripts. Do you see it? Your manifestations, your perfect health, your perfect wealth, your perfect love are always coming because they're already and always here and now. They're always coming. It's always unfolding. The bridge of incidence is always a bridge of incidence. And the path of least resistance is always a path of least resistance. You're always in the thick of it. You are reality. There's no out there. You're all of it, right? There's no separation between the seen, physical, manifested reality and the unseen, non-physical, non-manifested reality or unmanifested reality. It's all one. That's what gives it the power. That's why it's all power. Do you see it? There's no separation. There's no limitation. That's why it's all power, and all that power is you. I and the Father are one, and the Father is greater than I. It's only greater in the sense that you're focused in on a 3D personality, or a personality some call the ego, which is just a thought that you're separate or separated or limited by God. But when you move from those thoughts and say that, I'm focused in on 3D reality, but I'm not separate from God, and I am one with God, I am God. Now you have closed that unit, you have closed that separation or that thought. And now you're not thinking like the ego, you're thinking like source. Do you see it? Ego is just a thought system. It's just a thought of separation. It's just a belief in a separate personality. But once you know you're one with the great I am, the great personality, then you got it, right? It's all source. It's all fulfillment. Remember, you are God. You are reality. There's no signs out there or outside of what you assume and believe. You're not separate from anyone or anything. You determine, you give meaning to all of it. This idea of BBL, or birds before land, and looking for the existence or absence of signs, in other words, of coincidences and synchronicities, that your manifestations are coming or not coming, put your attention and focus and awareness out there where they're not. There's nothing out there. So your awareness is in the nothingness of nothing. There's nothing there. It's all you. In other words, you're putting your focus on level 1 of reality creation, on the physical effects, right? So it assumes separation from God. It assumes separation from fulfillment. It assumes separation from ultimate reality, and I am, which is impossible. But you can create the experience of non-fulfillment. You can create that possibility for you. Do you hear it? Because God doesn't limit you. God gives you the free will to think anything you want. And so this one subscriber, and it really relates to another one, when we were talking about the idea of claiming that you're God, and that it's not blasphemous, and it's not blasphemy, that when you say, I am God, as Jesus said many times, right? He was very clear. And someone pointed out John 10:31, where they pick up stones and they accuse him of blasphemy and claiming that he's God. They pick up stones. Remember, that whole metaphysical event in the Bible, is it a real event or a metaphysical event? It doesn't matter. All events, everything's real, everything's reality, right? The only thing that's unreal is limitation and separation. So it doesn't matter whether you think it was a real event or not, is irrelevant. All things are possible. So I'm talking about all things are possible. So when they say they pick up stones, that whole representation, as Neville Goddard talks about, is you being stoned by the facts of life, that the conditions of 3D reality are going to get up and throw stones at you. You're going to feel like they're attacking you because you're claiming yourself as God, right? It's your belief in those conditions, right? Those conditions, those 3D reality, those in 3D reality that feel separate or limited or feel small will pick up stones and say, you shouldn't claim yourself as God. You should be separate and weak and limited like us. and believe that there's a greater power taking care of me and that I don't have control of my reality. It's up to God. It's up to you as God, right? Remember, by claiming I am God, we are limited. This is what this subscriber wrote. So I want to hit this one. He wrote a lot, but I just pulled out this one sentence, right? Because remember, in his whole email to me, I get it. He's just sort of repeating what's been said by others for decades. That you're an aspect of God, but you're not God. I get it. There's a belief in that. That's just a belief. It's just an assumption that some have, that this is his belief, and he has adopted that belief, right? By claiming I am God, we are limiting the potential of God when we could claim ourselves as an aspect of God, humbly acknowledging that the one or the God or all that is that created both you and I is greater than we could ever be. Well, we just debunked that, right? We talked about that's not humility. That's the humility of the 3D limited linear horizontal personality that believes that you have to be small, that believes being humble. It's the false humility to say, I'm just going to say I'm small and there's a greater power than me. That's humble. Admitting that you're weak, and that's coming from fear, that's coming from limitation. That's the false humility of the 3D world. You have it backwards, right? That's backwards. That by claiming I am God, that's actually unlimited. That's expressing the unlimitedness of God. It's saying I'm not separate from anyone or anybody else. That I'm not more important or less important than anything or anybody else. That's the true declaration of humility. Do you see it? Saying I'm not separate, and because I'm not separate, and because I'm not more or less important than anyone else, then all of us are part of that one unity. And that gives me all power, just like everyone else has all power. That's the paradox of the Father and I are one, but the Father is greater than I. That's the whole paradox. You're missing the whole paradox here, right? You're working from the bottom up, saying I'm little and there's this higher power, but I'm one with that higher power. Do you see it? But you're declaring that you're separate, a separate personality, right? To say you're just an aspect of God is a belief and assumption in separation, period. It's a belief that you can divide up God or the unity of all that is. Wherever God is at all, the whole of God must be. That's it, guys. So to say that I'm an aspect of God is declare I'm not. Is declare that I'm not whole. To say that you're an aspect of God is declare I'm not whole, I'm not complete, I'm not perfect, and I'm not made in God's image. That's what you're saying when you say you're made in an aspect. God doesn't make aspects that are made in part of his image. God made you in its image, completely perfect, endowed with the same power, all power, to create your reality. The only reason that God is greater, that idea that unity is greater, is because we believe that we're separate from that unity. When you believe you're separate from the unity, then it is greater. That's the whole idea. The greatness is that it's all connected. The unity, the great I am, yes, the great I am is the container or the oneness of all I ams, all billions of points of consciousness. But it's not separate from any of them. And it's not less important or more important or less powerful or more powerful than you as I am. All of the power of the great I am is within you as I am. That's what we're making here. You're not a little bit of God. That makes no sense. That's dividing God up. That's the false humility of the 3D linear experience. That's the definition of limiting God. There's nothing more humble than seeing everyone and everything as one, as unity, as God, or as source. There's nothing more humble than not seeing yourself as separate, small, weak, but rather one with all that is. That's the true definition of humility, right? So remember, and then one of you said the ego's not God, trying to make that point that claiming yourself as God is claiming the ego's God. No, we're saying the ego's irrelevant. The ego's just a thought of separation and limitation, and that's unreal. There's no such thing as limitation. Right? When you say that, you create the idea of the ego. You create that idea. You create more separation by saying that. Because now you're giving the ego reality, saying it's not God, saying that it exists, but it's not God. The ego's irrelevant, and God sees that not. God does not see it That's why the ego feels rejected. That's where this whole idea of rejection and unworthiness comes from. It comes from that separation when we feel it with God. We're feeling separate, but we don't know why. The ego doesn't know why. The 3D personality doesn't know why. It doesn't know why it's being rejected. It doesn't know what it's being rejected by, because God doesn't see it and it doesn't know God. Right? I am God is an announcement of the only reality of unity, love, completion, oneness, wholeness, and unlimitedness. I am is not the ego. Yeah, I am not. The ego is nothing. The ego really is saying I am not. I am not whole. I am separate. I'm limited. I am, this personality is an experience of reality, right? I am, or the personality of the ego, is an experience of reality, God. It's not God or reality. I am is the only reality. So that ego personality is just an experience of reality. It's not reality. I am is the one and only reality. Okay, so I wanted to do this because remember the levels of creation. So I wanted to say that remember the Father and I are one, the Father, the Son, the absolute, the essence of reality, ultimate reality, that's all power. And that all power becomes infinite power when it becomes the Son, or the I am awareness, or the beingness of all potential. But there's no separation here. The first manifestation of God is the Son. You in the perfect image of God, the divine you. Not the Son of man, but the Son of God. I am awareness, the beingness. Where all potential and infinite power exists. But neither one of these, both of these are the changeless reality. That's one. That's one. You got to look at that as one. Right? That's the great I am. There's no separation there. I am that. That's why God said, I am that I am. I am that I am. I am one with all of it. I'm all potential, but I'm all power. And in that all power is all potential. It's level 5. Who do you say I am? The Son of Man. That's where that comes in. This is the idea that there's a separate personality, or what some call an ego. But even then, you can identify upwards instead of downwards. And when you identify upwards towards God, towards your I am awareness, now you're declaring I am God. You're not declaring I am not. When you're identifying below with levels 4, 3, 2, and 1, you're saying I am not. I'm not something. You start making assumptions of linear time and separation, limitation. You have like thoughts, right, on level 3. Then those thoughts become feelings, and you're feeling humble and small. That's where humility comes in, the 3D humility that this subscriber was talking about. And then you have action, or 3D physical manifested reality. So when you're looking for signs, you're down here in the weeds, saying, when's it coming? Where is it? I'm seeing signs, I'm seeing some physical manifested things, but where's my stuff? Where's the guy? Where's the girl? Where's the money? Where's the house? Where's the health? Right? That keeps you down there. That's why we're saying that you give meaning to everything. The signs are within you, within that identity, within you as that I am awareness. Wow, that's powerful. The signs, Neville Goddard says, the signs always follow, they never proceed. In other words, the manifested physical reality, level 1, follows your identity. It follows who do you say I am. That signs will follow that. So looking down here for signs that you're someone keeps you down here in the weeds, keeps you in the messy middle and at the bottom rung of creation, right? They always follow who and what you're conscious of being. They follow level 5. Instead, look upwards and inwards towards your I am that I am. Looking for signs and then thinking and feeling something about them is bottom up. That's the messy middle. That's reality, right? That's bottom up reality creation. Right? You're going from the bottom up, saying, oh, I'm signed, so I must be that person I want. Instead of saying, I'm that person, and the signs are already there because they're within me, and I get to determine what those signs mean. This one particular case, this SP story, a couple specific people, persons' stories that they were looking at as birds before land. This one was that she wanted to. She had a friendship with someone that has been a friendship for a few years now. But she's always been looking at it as a friendship. Yet she's been imagining and affirming that it's more than that. But her belief or assumption that it's just a friendship that she wanted to turn into something else. So that was the only thing that we identified that was holding that, quote, manifestation off. As she looked at him as a friend, she declared that, right? And that she wants him to chase her. And so he couldn't chase her because he considers her a friend. Her assumption is that they're friends. So friends, he's not going to chase her and pursue her in a romantic way. But as she was doing that, as she was imagining it, even with that assumption, she did manifest someone and another guy with actually a name that was very similar in all the qualities of the specific person that she considers she's just friends with, that wants to manifest more. So you could look at that as a sign that is coming, but it's not. It's a sign that she's already there, except for the assumption that they're just friends. So you give it all meaning. This guy even said, the other one that she manifested, said, I feel like you put a spell on me and I'm smitten and I love it. Well, it is, because remember, it's not really a spell. It's a version of that person that she is attracting because she's a different version of herself. But as she drops this idea that for her first SP, that they're not just friends, as she drops that assumption that they're more than that, and that he actually is pursuing her, she just couldn't see it. We noted a lot of examples where she just didn't see him, that he is pursuing her, that it's there, right? And then there was another story about that one that I told you with at the beginning, that she manifested that dinner with that person, but then questioned it and didn't want it. So it didn't go away. Remember, the birds, whether they're signs or not, is your determination. But remember, when you're looking for signs and you're giving those physical manifested current realities, or those unfolding, or that scene becoming seen, wait, that it's something outside of you telling it's coming. You're giving your power to outside conditions, right? And so I just want to say that's really what we mean by, do birds before land, are they really a sign it's coming? They're a sign it's come, that it's done, that it's already yours, that you're already it. You give meaning to all the signs. You give meaning to all reality. You are God. I am God, and there is no other. That means there's no other sign, there's no other reality, there are no birds, there's no land, it's all you. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, thank you. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for liking and sharing and commenting on the videos. Thank you for being part of our Facebook group, the Be Something Wonderful Ambassadors, at facebook.com/groups/Be Something Wonderful, for joining us on Instagram and Twitter at Tom Kearin, and for joining our membership channel. We just released a video a few days ago on the membership channel, a big one, and we have a live stream coming up in less than 2 weeks, Sunday, August 6th, 2023 at 9 a.m. in the morning, right here in the studios of Be Something Wonderful in Las Vegas. I'm going to answer some of your questions. There was another question came up on karma today, and we're going to answer that as well on the live stream. That's Sunday morning, August 6th, at 9 in the morning, Pacific Coast Standard Time, live with me. Creators, with great love, with great light, and infinite gratitude, this is Tom with Be Something Wonderful in Las Vegas. We'll see you soon.